Welcome, Kareena Hart, to the Beauty Way. Kareena is one of my beautiful soul sisters, and I love her so much because we come from such seemingly uh, different backgrounds, yet we complement each other so beautifully in the mirror that we offer to one another, just in our daily life. And we've spent a lot of time together over the last few years, and she just offers me so much beautiful wisdom and medicine and truth in how she lives. And so I wanted to share her with the world today via the Beauty Way. So welcome, my soul sister.
Hi, thank you, beautiful soul sister Kirsty. Oh, it's such a joy and an honor to be here. Thank you.
And yeah, it's so beautiful to connect in this way. And I remember when we met online, and then meet in person, and then to be able to have this ongoing conversation via the World Wide Web. But as we were just talking before we came on the call, like there's the way that the frequencies are shifting. It, even though we're not able to be physically with one another right now, the way when we connect at that deeper level, it still feels really expansive because we're connecting from this space of heart and from this space of truth. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you as well. So where I want to go, where I want to start with you is, I would love you to share a little bit about where you came from, and what led you on the path to create the life that you now live, which is guided by, very much divinely guided.
Beautiful. Thank you. Um, yeah, where I came from. Immediately I go to the stars. But yeah, so having been raised, well, born and raised in South Africa, I come from a background of like rooted in rhythms, like the pulse of Africa. And I was born into a world of music and dance. And so I come from a performing arts background. Now, growing up in South Africa was very much a test for my nervous system. Um, you're on high alert, super vigilant, and that becomes a normal way of life. And so through performing arts, through dancing and choreography and traveling the world as a dancer and a performing artist, um, I would wear many masks and just be true to myself on the inside, but portray something else on the outside. And that was so I come from a background of making decisions totally unconsciously. And what I've evolved into since I left South Africa and landed in New Zealand, which is my new home and has been for 9 years, I landed in a very conscious way of living. And so, what has come through that is that I'm actually here to bring forth the truth. So, when I look back at where I came from, it was grooming me, the unconscious patterning was grooming me for this time where I'm consciously bringing out the truth, consciously living the divine. And yeah, it's such a contrast that it just feels so beautiful to to actually be able to have this gift of life.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
The contrasts are so incredibly powerful and valuable. And I want to go back to growing up in South Africa, which must have been intense. When did you start did you start dance, for the because you knew that it was going to help you to be able to regulate your nervous system? Or why did you start dance, and how old were you?
Mm. So when you speak to my mother, or when my mother tells my birth story, she'll tell you I was born dancing. She said, you know, you came out doing a tap dance. And and that's great because from the age of 3, I was already on stage with ballet recitals. And so dance has and is my gift. So I have connected to my body since a young age, and I've danced through my whole life. And it's the somatics, it's the body based connection that I feel is my gift to the world.
Mm.
So I didn't turn to dance, it came through me, and it's what I am and who I be. And so I reckon it's because I had the dance,
Yeah.
because I had that industry, that I was so fulfilled in my life that I didn't recognize, because essentially I was living my purpose, living my passion, that I didn't recognize any perceived heightened states of trauma or vigilance or dysregulated nervous system states that I was in, until I stepped away and really looked back and realized the patterning that was playing out, per se.
So would
So,
you say in that when you spoke at the introduction, you spoke of that you traveled around the world and you were performing and you wore many masks. Would you say that the dance and the performance actually helped you to create that strength and that those masks and that perceived strength on the outside, which meant that you weren't necessarily, even though you grew up and dance was what brought you into connection with your body, part of it actually sort of took you out of your body by creating these personas, and then you go through the experience of knowing that, oh my God, I've actually experienced trauma here.
exactly. And that's the beauty of being able to look back in hindsight, because exactly that was happening. And I didn't have the words for it. And I didn't know. I couldn't have these conversations because I didn't have the awareness. But what was happening was, because of my connection to my body, my deep connection to my body, whatever role I was playing out on stage was actually my own healing. But I
Mm.
didn't know that. I couldn't piece that together until I stepped away and looked back in hindsight. And it's powerful, the just how intelligent the body is, and just how much I was releasing through being so physical and expressive,
Mm.
and playing out those different roles on stage through music, through connection to other cast members, and through just being able to release and perform. So the physicality of it in itself was so healing. And yet, whilst I was in it, it just seemed like, oh, I'm living my passion and it feels awesome. And some days it was like, it's very exhausting and taxing on my physical body. But because I love it so much, it doesn't matter. I was able to push through anything, which in itself was big learning curves and big lessons for me that were, unfolding before me, but, patterns that I was ready to release. But of course, again, I didn't have the language around it until later on in life. And so powerful.
So when was the moment for you? Like for me, I can look back and see that when I was 23, I was wanting to get out of a marriage that I shouldn't have gotten into. And I did a parachute course and I was trying to prove myself to the world in the army. And I did a parachute course, and on the first jump, I broke my ankle and I was out for 6 weeks and I was drugged up and all of those kinds of things. And I look back on that and I go, that was the turning point. Like that was the universe going, Kirsty, you need to stop and change course. And so, was there a moment for you where you can look back and go, that was the moment where I knew that something needed to shift within me?
Yeah, there were two moments. So, um, very similar to your story. Thank you for sharing, with the parachute and the ankle accident. Is my first moment, my real conscious recollection is, I had a really severe car accident. Um, and it's the first time I had the experience of the ethereal or the divine or the universe stepping in. And literally, it felt like a set of angel wings had scooped me up and just taken away all this pain and intensity that I was feeling from this car accident, that I was, going into. These set of wings just held me and placed me down onto the earth, and all my pain was gone, and everything became clear in that moment. Like, it's time to wake up and make different choices. And that whole scenario, which took about 2 or 3 hours, felt like it played out in 4 minutes. Like, it was just so, I was in such another dimension. And so coming out of that, I realized that I needed to make different choices for my life. And the second time was when the opportunity presented itself to immigrate from South Africa to New Zealand. It was a massive awakening because I realized then that I needed to let go of this life I had created on a platform of unconscious decisions, fear, um, and then stepping into a different realm where I was introduced to yoga and a more mindful way of life. Not introduced to yoga, I'd been doing yoga along the way, but I now decided to do a teacher training program. And that took me deeper into myself. And that's when more of the awakening happened. And so those two moments were pivotal. And that's when I realized I can have performance, I can have dance, I can be this person that is connected to my physical vessel in such a deep and beautiful way, but I get to do it differently now, and I get to make more conscious choices for my body and for my career. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as though that memory of I can make more conscious decisions is like divinely inspired, and then the opportunity presents itself when you say, I just got goosebumps when I said that. The Because that was quite similar for me, when I realized that I needed to change my life. This is later on in 2001, because I got depression. I was walking down the street one day and I was like, I really need to do something different here. And all of a sudden I saw this flyer for this beginner yoga class, and I'd known about yoga for a long time, and I went along, and I remember being in the class and actually being aware in the class of how disconnected my mind was from my body, and relishing this experience of bringing the two back into union. And I've done yoga ever since. And so that it's like that you need to make conscious decisions is some sort of divine like command. And then we get,
Absolutely.
we get to act on that.
Yeah, and I loved your words, divine inspiration. It's just, yes, that's what it is. That inspiration that comes through, and it's like a wellspring of like inner like flow that wasn't there before. And it's like, wow, all of this is available to me. And I never knew it. Like I hadn't been able to tap in. So I love the divine inspiration, and I love the flow around that the follow-on effect. And I love that yoga has touched all our lives in so many special ways, and has been like it's been one of the healing modalities for my physical body, coming from a dance background. But it was also the vehicle to open me up to so what's available. Like, I had no idea until I immersed in that training of just how much um, alternative, conscious, whatever we're calling it these days, avenues are available for us.
Mm.
And that was super then mind blowing. And yeah, I've just gone deeper and deeper, and from strength to strength, and which right now has led me to modalities like shaking medicine, which is a whole nervous system hygiene. And yeah,
Tell
I
me a bit
never
more
thought,
about shaking
yeah.
medicine. Share that a little bit more. Those yogis, they were awesome. But tell us.
Way ahead of their time. Yeah. And yeah, so the ancient tribes, like, the ancient Indian, the ancient African, Egyptian, the Kalahari Bushmen, which is a tribe that is still shaking today, they knew the science behind this life, this living, and the shaking is actually, it's our innate primal healing mechanism. It's something we're born with and something we're born to do. And so I mentioned the ancient tribes because some of them have passed that down into their generations and they still shake today. And yet, as Westerners, we're seemingly a culture that doesn't have that practice. So we don't shake as a way to support our bodies, to look after ourselves consciously. We just haven't been taught that.
We just
And
suppress,
so,
just take it.
yeah, we're a society of suppressors, and yeah, hence we go into these depressions and these illnesses. And because if you think about, if we're designed to release and we're not releasing, where does that stuff go? And
Mm.
by stuff, I mean suppressed emotions, thoughts, even if we're not eliminating properly. Where does that stuff go?
Yeah, I remember when
Yeah,
I first learned like that emotions were energy in motion. And I was like, oh, of course they need to move. Like emotion needs to move through the body. And we stagnate ourselves so much, don't we? And so what is
absolutely.
that like when you say like the Kalahari tribes, like they shake, how do they do? Obviously, it's a
Yeah,
conscious, the conscious movement. I've done this with you, but can you explain it?
yeah. So what we're essentially doing is we're saying to the body, we're creating the space for the body to do what it's designed to do. So instead of suppressing and saying to the body, no, don't do that, don't do that, that's not allowed, push that down, let's hold on to that, let's not release that. We're now saying, okay, body, do what you're designed to do. So what it is it's the nervous system that is actually um, moving through. We create the conditions for our body to go through its own motions of releasing, whether that be emotions or whether that be natural bodily functions, whether that be arousing energies like arousal energy or anger or whatever it is, the body knows. And so by shaking, we start off where we shake the body, it's a voluntary shake. And then we allow the body to shake us, which is an involuntary shake. So that's the shake I'm talking about, the spontaneous or involuntary shake. That's when your nervous system is trying to bring all the conversations that are happening in the body into coherence. And when
Mhm.
all those conversations are coherent, we then go into states like our natural state of being, homeostasis, bringing equilibrium. So we've heard all these words, and especially if we're yogis and we've heard those words before. But what's actually happening is it's the nervous system coming into coherence. And it's that coherence that gives us that sense of grounding where we can use words like, oh, I feel so peaceful now, or I feel settled in my body, or I feel the sense of calm. These are all words, emotions, feelings that coherence can feel like. And it really is a state of harmony because things like anxiety, depression, we've taught our bodies those kinds of behaviors. It's actually not our natural state of being.
Mm.
And so if we've taught our bodies these things with suppressing, we can also then reverse them by allowing the intelligence of the body to come through.
Yeah.
So shaking is essentially a medicine. It is a nervous system hygiene practice,
Mm.
and it's designed to happen daily and instantly when we have a perceived trauma. I mean, if you get a fright from a spider suddenly dropping on your shoulder, like that in instant shock or perceived fright your body, if it was taught this, would naturally shake it off. It would
Mm,
naturally shake off that surge of hormones pulsing through your body because the perceived trauma is now over and you don't need any of those hormones that are circulating through your body. So the nervous system would essentially communicate with all the other systems and you would release that. And that's it. The process would happen within seconds.
mm,
um, our bodies naturally want to shake. If you've ever stubbed your toe or your finger, your natural reaction would be to like shake it or hold it and vibrate your body, or like your jaw vibrate. We're doing it all the time.
mm.
But we just haven't been conscious of it. And so, yeah, it's just bringing the conscious awareness through about what's available for us with this beautiful practice.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm sure that people listening can feel your passion as well. And you know what I love about this conversation is we're using the word medicine, right? And in the Western world, the medicine takes away our pain. But the way that we're actually using medicine in this conversation, because I've been listening really clearly to when you and I have both used the word, is the medicine actually calls that trauma, calls it to the surface so that it can be transmuted and released and moved out of the body, and the body helps that. And the more that we can do that, we create this sense of safety in the body, and the body feels safe and it feels relaxed, and it can allow itself to surrender even further into this existence.
Exactly. I
Mm,
love that because, yeah, the medicine is already within us. It's already in the DNA and the innate weaving of the intelligence of the body.
mm,
And we started this conversation with like awakenings, and it's about awakening um, and aligning to that this greater intelligence that our physical bodies are, and then from there, our energy bodies and so forth. Um, because when I started delving into that, it was absolutely mind blowing. And I mean that in the sense of I love my beautiful mind, and it got an opportunity to have a break while my body was now the main communicator.
yeah.
So body, heart, mind, that kind of coherence. And my mind isn't running the show anymore like it was in my unconscious days of how we started this conversation.
Yeah. And it reminds me of that phrase, when you just spoke, it reminds me of the phrase, we are the medicine, and the shaking medicine and all of that you've just explained. It really is reminding us that we are the medicine, because the more that we tune into our bodies, whether it's yoga, whether it's shaking medicine or whatever, we recognize that, oh, actually, I am the one who can heal my body. I can heal myself. It's nothing outside of me. I am the medicine. So, yeah, thank you for that. And what you just said then, what I have been asking is, how do you weave the beauty way into your life? And from what you've just explained, it's quite clear to me that the beauty way is weaved into your daily life. So, is there anything else that you can share about that?
Oh, yes. Thank you. What a beautiful question. Yeah. So the beauty way for me is um like you say, other ways to see the world, like just a different lens. And so the journey that I've been on is like led me to this conversation with you, is that I want to follow the path of my heart. I want to really listen to what's coming through my heart field, my heart consciousness. And by having these practices like shaking and yoga and just taking moments of mindfulness, like drinking my cup of cacao on the daily, um, that for me is the beauty way, because it's an opportunity to drop in. And what I mean by that is like stop, listen to the whispers that arise from your body.
Mhm.
Because what we are creating from within is creating our realities. And that for me is the beauty way. So my reality is being shaped by what is coming through me. And um, I love that, because when I look around in my universe and in my world and on the daily, and I look at what I'm creating, like I get to really drop into what it is that I'm desiring, wanting, or if there's something in my reality that's like I didn't create, I can look at it and go, actually, on some level, I've created this, so I can uncreate it. And that for me is the beauty way. It's just having the pure um, consciousness around everything that's happening, and knowing that I am the center of that nucleus and that vortex in my own small world, in a bigger fractal of other people with their nucleus and vortexes or vortices, and we're all in this together, and we can kind of morph and meld and bump each other, and and find our way. And I have this visual, like it's like a game in my head. But yeah, it's all about frequency, and so I get to choose, and that excites me. Is like it's all up to me and my choices.
It's so cool, isn't it? And you, to me, are a beautiful example of weaving the beauty way. And I really appreciate yeah, I've already said it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate how we bump into each other. We're swirling in our own universes.
Yeah, and like you said in the beginning, we've come from such contrasting backgrounds, yet complementary.
Yeah.
And that's because we have so much richness within our own vortexes that we can bump up against each other and go, oh yeah, I need a bit of that medicine today, and you have the magic right there that I need to tune into, and we can so support each other. And I could only drop into that when I let go of comparison, when I
Mm,
looked at my feminine, and I just went, whoa, my soul sisters are here in full love and light supporting me. So I get to drop all the narrative story and those deep ancestral wounds, if you will, around the threat of my sisters.
mm.
And yeah, so when I,
It's,
I let go of comparing myself to my soul sisters, and rather immersed in the love and the magic that's available,
mm,
oh, it's such a beautiful dance now,
yeah.
with our vortex. Yeah, the vortexes are flowing and dancing and morphing, and oh, it's juicy.
We could have a whole conversation on that comparison. We might do that. You might come back and we might talk about that later on.
Yeah.
The next question I wanted to ask you was something that I've been asking everyone, which is where, if you could stand in front of your 18-year-old self right now, what would you tell her?
Wow. Yeah, I reckon it's what she did anyway, is like I would stand in front of her and say, just follow your heart. And she did that. Um, Gosh, it hasn't always been easy. And that version of myself, um, yeah, oh, so much fear coursing through her veins, but yet so determined and ambitious. Um, yeah, the same advice, just follow your heart. It's the pathway, the supreme ruler. It just knows. So yeah, I guess the advice would be like, even in those times of turmoil, challenge, trouble, fear, follow your heart.
Yeah,
It knows.
yeah, beautiful. It's pretty good
Oh,
advice.
and the other thing I would say to her, save that money, doll. Look at your finances.
Don't push them away. Don't push away your
Yeah.
finances. Like really learn to love learn to love money and learn to love the finance and what it gives you. That's That's something that I am
Yeah.
sharing with my 18-year-old self, who shows up as my 18-year-old daughter. That's why I was inspired to ask that question of everybody. So, mm,
Yeah, I mean, I love that conversation around, because even with the follow your heart, what my 18-year-old did was follow her heart, yet she didn't know that she could co-create with money, and that
mm,
money was a support and an ally,
yeah,
because it came so easy that there was no value placed on that
yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
So, follow your heart, cultivate those relationships. That includes relationships with our money, our things, our people. Every interaction we have is potentially a relationship. So, yeah, she forgot about co creating intentionally with money. And that would be my second piece of advice to
beautiful.
her.
We're shifting realities and timelines. So,
Yeah.
before we complete today, is there anything else that you want to share with my listeners about the Beauty Way?
Yeah, that you are an amazing, beautiful being lighting this way. And I'm so freaking honored to be here and so proud of you, walking your pathway, following your heart. It truly lights me up. And it's such a joy to be able to celebrate you in this way and to support you with your endeavors in this world. And yeah, you're such an inspiration. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for inspiring those around you with your beautiful light.
Thank you, honey. I love you so much too. Thank you for joining me today. I think you'll be back.
Yay! We have much to talk about, don't we?
We do. See you next time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Much love.